she was murdered and put in a septic tank. Like, who does that to somebody? It's just not fair.
In Florida, Cynthia Cole, a 57-year-old artist, was found deceased in her own septic tank. She was murdered by a friend of hers, someone she'd known for 8 years, who acted as her handyman. And I guess I should say that that's just alleged because he hasn't been convicted yet. He is awaiting trial, but pretty much all of the evidence leads to him though. And his name is Keoki Demich, and he's 34 years old. And he's been charged with second-degree murder. Can you imagine anything more awful than having a septic tank be your resting place? Well, I can think of something more awful. She might have even been alive when he put her in there. Can you imagine how horrible? Let's begin this by taking a look at who Cynthia Cole is, or was. She went by the online name of Cynthia C. She was spiritual and kind and gentle. She was fun. She was inspirational. She was a photographer. She was a really good, sweet, kind person.
She was like so much fun. You know, she was like that girl with love in her eyes and flowers in her hair.
Who loved helping others. She is greatly missed by all who knew her in her Jensen Beach community. She was an Alcoholics Anonymous sponsor, meaning she took people under her wing and helped them to get sober and to stay that way. She also led a Bible study group at her home.
She believed in God the way I did, because that's rare.
She frequently tried to help people out, including this Keoki guy, who she actually gave him a ride to the halfway house where he lived with another person who she was sponsoring in AA in the vehicle. Keoki also went to the same AA meetings. Anyway, this person said that it was uneventful, the trip, and that it just felt like Cynthia and Keoki were friends, and that there was nothing that would even hint at what was going to happen in the future.
She was devoted to him as helping him and trusting him. She just really did. I mean, there wasn't any alarms for me with that relationship.
Cynthia was fond of taking walks by the sea. She collected sea glass. She was an avid photographer. She even sold a lot of her works, and some of them are publicly available on her social media. And as a tribute to her, at the end of this video, I will display some of her photographs. On February 24th, 2018, which is exactly 4 years to the day of when she disappeared, she posted a meme that read, "In the blink of an eye, everything can change, so forgive often and love with all your heart. You may never know when you may not have that chance again." You know, she was definitely a live each day type person. Keoki Demich, the guy who is currently in jail for her murder, is 34 years old, and he's a handyman, and he moved to Florida from Washington State, where he is a registered offender due to a crime that he committed when he was 17. He committed a burglary, went into a house, and then utilized the homeowner's pornography. So that's what made him be an offender. And in the state of Florida, that doesn't qualify for being on the list. So he wasn't on any kind of list. So nobody had any kind of worries about him. He and Cynthia had known each other for 8 years. And this is Jensen Beach, Florida, which is a mile from Port St. Lucie. I'll link a video below, which is one that I did about a crime that took place in Port St. Lucie. It's the case of Tyler Hadley, who threw a killer party. He actually murdered both his parents in order to throw a house party when he was 17 years old. And he threw the party with his parents' bodies in the master bedroom of the house. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, go ahead and check that out in the description box below. Meanwhile, Jensen Beach is a nice and artsy place. Cynthia was celebrating at an arts festival. It's called Jammin' Jensen, and she was having a great time and posting to her social media and stuff from the event. Witnesses say that they last saw her leaving Mulligan's restaurant around 8 p.m. that night. By March 1st, when nobody had heard from her, she hadn't posted on social media, she missed a party that she was going to be attending, and basically none of this is like her. She never goes out of touch. She never or missed posting on her social media. So her friends and relatives reported to the police, who went over to her home on March 1st. They didn't go inside. They just looked around the grounds, and they saw that there was no sign of forced entry. Her car wasn't at the house. So they went around contacting any friends that they knew of, and they checked the areas that she liked to hang out, the beach. They called hospitals, checked with the jails even, and eventually they did find her car abandoned a ways away. So then they went back on March 2nd, and this time they went in the house. And when they went in, they found that there was a shotgun leaning against the wall in the master bedroom, and there was food rotting inside. It was obvious she hadn't been there for a while. Her phone was found on the property with its battery worn down. They talked to her friends. One of her friends was a different handyman who had left town on the 19th, and he had loaned her that shotgun. She was afraid of, I think, a neighbor, who definitely, it wasn't Keoki though. Nobody was worried about him. When they checked her phone though, the outgoing messages and stuff, they discovered that she had messaged Keoki the day that she disappeared, and that she had also sent him money using an app, and the money, the Cash App transaction, was for $567.75, which made them decide that they wanted to go talk to Keoki again, because he was a known friend of hers that they had talked to already, and he had said that he hadn't seen her since like February 22nd, at which time he was working on her air conditioner with another friend, and he said that she always paid him in cash, and that he had not seen or heard from her since February 22nd. But here they had an outgoing message from her and a Cash App transaction from her going to him. When they approached him with that information, he then recanted, said that he had gone over there, but that he thought that it would look bad on him if he admitted that he had been there the night that she disappeared, and that he had gotten money from her. And then he said that he was supposed to go back there, that she was supposed to pick him up, but then they figured out that her car, where they had found it abandoned, was actually near his home. And when they looked at surveillance footage of where that car was, they saw a man that looked an awful lot like him leaving the car and heading in the direction of his house. So then he said, oh yeah, he saw her and she loaned him her car. He was going to be going back over there to work on the house, but then he hadn't heard from her, so etc., etc. So of course this made them very, very suspicious. So they went back to her house and they were searching all over the place, and eventually they noticed the screws fastening down the lid to the septic tank were loose. And when they lifted that up, they saw her in the septic tank, deceased and naked. So they took Keoki in, and they have not been able to determine whether she was alive when she was put into the tank or not. She had suffered blunt force trauma. She was naked, and it seems that Keoki had been waiting for her when she showed up. He had hired a lift to take him to her house that night around 8 p.m. He was there when she got home. Apparently, he had some sort of altercation with her, and while she was nude, I'm very worried about how and why she ended up naked and what he may have done. I'm sure that more will come out when he goes to trial. And her cause of death is the blunt force trauma, along with both strangulation and asphyxiation. Drowning is one form of asphyxiation, so it's possible that she was still clinging to life when he put her through the lid of that septic tank and plopped her in there. He's been charged with second-degree murder, which means that they don't believe that it was premeditated and that he might not even have meant to kill her. For some reason or other, he hit her. She had blows to the head and to the abdomen, and he put her in the tank, and then he drove her car to near his home, and he just went home and went about his business. A horrible, horrible end to a really, by all accounts, wonderful woman. So he's currently being held on a $750,000 bond. His next court date is coming up. So what do you guys think of all this? Can you think of any more horrible way to dispose of a human person than in a septic tank, especially in a septic tank while alive. Gosh, when I researched this case, I was shocked to find out how many actually do utilize septic tanks. It's gross. So if you want to hear more about this case, or if you have any other case suggestions, post in the comments. And now I hope you enjoy her photography. She seemed like she was really a very wonderful woman. Thank you for watching.